After the family made their way through the almost impenetrable Goler Wash, they set up a fire here in the hearth of the Myers Ranch and surveyed the austere beauty of the desert around them. One of the family girls knew of an abandoned stone house down the road, owned by an old woman named Barker. Manson, after locating Mrs. Barker in nearby Furnace Creek, convinced her that she should allow the family to live in her place in exchange for general upkeep and a gold record given to him by one of the Beach Boys. Today the ranch is much as the family first found it, as remote an outpost as can be imagined, hidden in the vast silence of the desert. Little has changed in the kitchen where the family prepared its meals. Or in the bedroom that once was Manson's.
Now, what comes to me, I have to deal with, don't I? So I go out in the desert, and I'm sitting in the desert, and I'm not bothering anybody, and I'm just having a good day. I'd rather be a coyote in the desert, but I've got to play act this goddamn human thing, this form that I'm in.
In the solitude of the desert, he dreamed of training his family for survival, long before America had seen an explosion of survivalists moving into rural areas to stockpile arms and wait for the apocalypse. Inspired by the exploits of Field Marshal Rommel, the Desert Fox, in the 40s, Manson began a massive project of stealing and converting cars into dune buggy attack vehicles. They would be a new Africa Corps that would rule this desert domain far from the sick city. The motorcycle clubs that Manson had brought into the family, the Straight Satans, Satan's slaves, the Jokers from hell, would serve as auxiliary troops.
You dig? But if you want to get up and ride, we'll ride, and I'll be right there with you. You know who I ride with? I ride in Venice, California with Straight Satan.
Near the Barker Ranch, the remains of hundreds of stolen cars still lay rusting in the desert sun. One can still make out the fading psychedelic paint jobs.
My world's out there in that junkyard. You know my world's in that picture. You know what pictures my world's in.
This auto graveyard is one of the few signs that the family left behind. Its atmosphere is that of the remains of a lost civilization, an archaeologist's excavation. So distant does the alien world that blossomed here in 1969 seem.
Oh, garbage dump, oh, garbage dump, why are you called a garbage dump? Oh, garbage dump, oh, garbage dump, why are you called a garbage dump?
The family foraged into the nearby naval bombing range, where they stole a communication wire which was strung around the Barker Ranch, further adding to the impression of a command post. The camouflaged lookout bunkers where the family girls would take shifts keeping watch of the ranch, knives strapped to their legs, are still evident. The fabled family bus that once stood in the front yard of the ranch crumbled slowly for years. Eventually, local prospectors dragged the infamous relic to an abandoned mine and dynamited it, as if symbolically destroying the spirit the bus once stood for. As Manson's plans for extending his increasingly militaristic commune to the further reaches of Death Valley expanded, getaway routes were planned. Emergency supplies of ammunition and gasoline were hidden all across the landscape. This still full can of gasoline stands hidden under the same rock that Manson left it under decades ago. Manson, familiar with local Shoshone and Hopi Indian legends of a subterranean lake beneath the desert, made sporadic attempts to search for what has come to be known as the Devil's Hole or the Bottomless Pit. Squeaky Fromm designed this prototype Armageddon jacket as the uniform for the Devil's Witches. This cavity in the striped butte near Barker Ranch is still said by desert miners to sport geysers of water, and may be the source of the idea, long a part of local folklore in Death Valley, that posits the existence of an underground body of water. Eventually it was here, in the quest for the bottomless pit, that the family was destined to make its last stand. On August 8th, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, and two other family women drove across this road from the Spawn Ranch to a house on 10050 Cielo Drive in Bel Air, where Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Wojtek Frykowski, and Abigail Folger were murdered. The subsequent murders unleashed a tidal wave of panic and terror. Speculation in Los Angeles and the world as to the identity of the murderers ran rampant. Similar murders the next evening added a further frisson of fear.
Actually, I wouldn't be here had it not been for those people you call family. They're the ones that put me here. They're the ones that butchered up a bunch of people and said, here, we want you to see this guy. I didn't want to be seen. You know, I was trying to get out in the desert. They said, well, this is our star. You dig what I'm saying? I would have went ahead and let you bleed in Elvis Presley. You dig? You could have had Elvis Presley for your little dreams. You dig what I'm saying? I didn't break the law. I got some friends that killed some people. But my friends have always been killing people. I've got a lot of friends that are very terrible people to other people. But to me, man, they're just home, you know. You got to be responsible for your actions. I'm not your leader. I'm not your follower.
Like the Kennedy assassination, the impact of the so-called Manson murders can never be fully understood. They entered immediately into the folklore of our time, an impenetrable cipher. It would be impossible to penetrate the fog of disinformation that covers these murders, the thick veil of rumors and theories, conspiracies and cover-ups that obscure the way. Were they the first casualties of a holy war? Tex Watson's revenge for a drug burn by Wojtek Frykowski? Susan Atkins' attempt at a copycat murder designed to free Bobby Bose?